Week 14. Oh my gosh, it's almost over. So much to do. I'm sure you have a lot to do too. I mean, I know you do because I'm making you do some stuff. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about what I'm making you do, how we're going to wrap this up, and in particular, what our final project. Now, you've had this project for a couple of weeks or a week and a half. So hopefully you've gotten into it, you've started thinking about it, you've started developing it, and you are well on your way to finishing the project. But I want to go ahead and record a video for those of you that are not. I've heard some people express some anxiety about it, both through email and in some chats. So I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about what my expectations for this project are and what you can do to make this project your own. And in fact, this project is your own. It is about you. And we're starting with the idea of worldview. What is a worldview? Well, in particular, I'm interested in how you go about composing yourself in the world, the things that you care about, the things that matter to you, the influences that you have on you. There are lots of questions here, and you'll see this on the worksheet that I provided for this week that will help you work through some of those worldview issues. I decided to use this background today and wear my All Y'all t-shirt to share a little bit about my worldview. It probably comes as no surprise that I believe that all people have a right to be. All people have a right to be who they are and to express who they are in the public sphere, that there should not be limitations on other people based on who they love, who they want to marry, how they want to express themselves, so long as we remember how we affect each other in the world. So I believe all y'all matter. Doesn't matter color of skin, your background, your beliefs, who you vote for, who you sleep with, doesn't matter. All y'all matter. I matter. We all matter. And I believe we should live in a society that encourages and fosters that ability for different people to come together and build community. That's part of my worldview. I got other parts of my worldview, like I really love comic books, and I also like punk music, and I believe that sports is not the most important thing in the world, but it's okay to watch a sport every once in a while. Those are minor parts of my worldview. So today we're going to talk about your worldview, in particular, how that worldview might be translated through a project in philosophy. In order to do this, I'm going to share my screen, and so that you won't have my face right here at the center of the screen the whole time we're talking. Instead, we'll look at our Moodle page and start to explore the stuff on our Moodle page. The first part of this that I want to bring up is something that was on our week 11. I hope you saw it, and I hope you considered it. Now, this is a notice for my philosophy 139-01. It is the Introduction to Ethics on Thursday at 2:10 in the winter semester. Now, most of you are not going to need another philosophy course. You've met your general ed requirements for civil society and culture with this course, and you won't need another philosophy course. But for some of you, especially if you are paying out of pocket and not relying on financial aid, which really restricts the amount of courses you can take, maybe another philosophy course would be great. We're doing ethics right now, so it may seem like, well, why would I want to take an introduction to ethics when I'm being introduced here in Philosophy 131? But a full introduction to ethics course allows us to do a deep dive into different ethical modes of thought, different ways of building frameworks for ethical planning, ethical action, and ethical assessment. We haven't been able to get very far into some specific ethical problems. We read a little bit about the eating of meat last week, but this course will not only allow us to present some ethical theories and get deeper, do a deep dive into those, but also to talk about specific real world issues and how we would apply ethics to those real world issues. The one feature of this course I want to make sure you understand is that it will be live and in the flesh. So instead of having a whole lot of lectures online like this one or discussion boards, this will be in the classroom. It should be a whole lot of fun and interesting so that you could be a part of this discussion face to face. Again, most of you don't need this course for your degrees. Most of you probably won't even have the financial aid availability to sign up for it. But if you know people who might be looking for a good course to take, English Philosophy 139-01 live and in person in the winter semester is a good option. So just wanted to mention that and invite you along for the ride. If you are looking for another course, I am going to be teaching in English 132. That's the second level composition course as well in the fall. I'm sorry, in the winter. That course hasn't opened up yet. It's just newly going to be added this weekend probably. So if you're looking for that course, you could look and see if you want to sign up for that one as well. Let's take a look at our project. Where's the project? There it is. Build this, increase the size of this. Okay, so this is our project number 2. It is worldview and philosophy. It may seem like this is, especially compared to our first project where we had a lot of time, a lot of work on it, and it was a more substantive project. It may seem like this is a lot of work at the end of the semester, but it's really not that big of a deal. It takes some thinking and some organization, but as far as actually the writing that you're going to have to do, what you need to think about in order to do this, you've already done most of this through your journals and through your discussion boards. So you can start to incorporate some of the thinking you've already done and start to build this this project now as a set thing. So here's the second project. Our second project is pretty straightforward. I want you to identify your worldview and then find 3 of our philosophers from this semester and connect their ideas to your worldview. You will then present your connections in a clear, meaningful, and organized way to show how your worldview is informed, explained, and or complicated by the philosophy you have studied this semester. Worldview. So to start, you need to articulate your worldview. Everyone has a worldview, even if they haven't yet figured out how to put that worldview into words. A worldview is a type of personal philosophy, a socio-political orientation, a belief system about the human experience. It is a way of defining what one believes is important for the world, in the world, for themselves, their family, their community, their nation, and other peoples and cultures. And it's a special note here, the term worldview has been kind of captured by the conservative Christian right as a way of talking about how you limit your possibility for openness and beliefs into a specific worldview dominated by your religious faith. There's nothing in particular wrong with that. That can be a worldview, but that's not the only way to use the word worldview. A worldview is a way of developing your philosophical self, and that's what I'm asking you to do here. Your worldviews can incorporate, among other things, your personal, family, cultural, religious values, perspective on others, community and governance, stances on political issues and causes, definitions of humanity and human purpose, arguments about the nature of the mind and consciousness, and so on. You can see the list here. And what you should be seeing at this point is, oh, wait, we've talked about a lot of these issues throughout the course of this course. We've talked about them from the philosophical side rather than just your personal feelings. But we have been introducing these concepts all along. I know a lot about this. Hopefully you know a lot about this because you've been studying it all semester. Not everyone has all this figured out, but most everyone has some concept of what they believe, how they think, and how others should act, uh, and what they think is important in the world. Even then, our worldviews do constantly change as we have new experiences, encounter new ideas, read new philosophies, and meet new people. For this assignment, you're going to need to be able to state what you think is important about your worldview at this moment. To do so, you need to identify a few components of your worldview that you think are essential. For example, you might focus on values that guide your approach to the world, political issues you would die for, or ethical frameworks that give you a meaning. And then you need to write out your worldview in at least 250 words. What are you going to write about? You're going to identify the concepts that are essential to your worldview, explain them, and talk about where you got those concepts or how they impact you. Your goal here will be to write out a clear statement of your worldview, or at least your worldview at this moment, that is both developed and coherent. So I want you to come up with a statement of yourself and your worldview. How is this determined? What does it mean? How does it impact your actions? Ultimately, I don't really care so much about how you go about writing this. What I don't think you should do is go to ChatGPT and say, "What is my worldview?" Write it in 250 words. That would be really, really bad. I need you to think about your own life and your own perspective and develop a worldview that has substance for you. In fact, I would avoid other people's statements online. Don't go searching. Just create your own worldview. Develop for yourself a sense of what it is that impacts how you approach this world and put it into a statement of 250 words. What do you do after you do that? Well, after you've developed some sense of your worldview, you need to find 3 philosophers that we've read in this class to help you explain your views, help you complicate them, or to show how philosophers have influenced them. In other words, you can't use philosophers who you've learned about in Thorne or Blackburn or in other videos, lectures, and handouts. You've got to use the actual philosophers and their actual words that we've studied. Once you've found 3 philosophers you want to use, you will go through the readings and find at least 2 specific quotes from the readings that will help explain the philosopher's ideas and that are in some way connected to your worldview. You must use the actual words drawn from the text that we've read as written by the philosophers. In total, you'll end up with 6 quotes from 3 philosophers. With that work done, you are then going to write. Okay, so it's not just enough to find the quotes. You're going to write 3 sections under your worldview statement on 3 different philosophers. Each section will explain how the philosopher and his or her ideas relate to your worldview. Then you're going to present your 2 quotes from the philosopher and explain the significance of the quotes in your worldview. Each section will be about 100 words in length. So what I'm envisioning here is like a paragraph introduction to the philosopher and how it affects your worldview. You present the 2 quotes, and then you explain in another paragraph under that how those quotes relate to your worldview. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, as long as you do the work for it. But once you do that work, this is not all that difficult. Just think back through the things that we've read, starting with Plato and Frederick Douglass and bell hooks, moving through Descartes and Ryle and all the other Descartians, thinking about Gloria Anzaldúa, thinking about Maurice Ponty, getting to philosophies of God and Pascal, and we've done a lot. So certainly some of these philosophies will be related to you and how you view the world. For me, if I was going to be doing this, one of the very first philosophers I would use would be Martin Buber, because I think, as you could tell from the videos that I've done this semester, Buber means a lot to me, both as a poet and as a philosopher. You can find your own here. Find things that really matter to you, that have affected you, that are representative of your worldview, and use those philosophers. So after you've done that, after you've presented your philosophers, write a concluding statement that attempts to bring the 3 philosophers together under your worldview. That is, you should restate your worldview, but this time you're going to be applying the philosophers to that statement with 1 paragraph. The conclusion is an exercise in synthesis and expression. You have these 3 philosophers by themselves. You have your worldview over here, and you're bringing them together in one statement. You will essentially be trying to write about four different thinkers' ideas, yours and the three philosophers, in one statement expressing one worldview. Your concluding statement needs to be at least 100 words. That's the basic project. It, this could be a 4-page um, presentation, a 4-page project. I'm trying to avoid the word paper because I don't necessarily want you to write an essay here. In fact, I think it's probably better if you don't write an essay. You can present this stuff more clearly without an essay. But let's think about other ways you could present it. The assignment can be developed as a short paper with 3 sections. Uh, you can feel free to write such a paper if that's the mode in which you're most comfortable. You can, however, choose to present it a little differently. Here are some ideas for the presentation. A PowerPoint lecture like the ones I make for this class, and then a recording over that PowerPoint, a Prezi presentation, a website with different pages, a poster board presentation, a TED Talk, a documentary, a video game. And I've had all people do all of these for different projects in the past, and some people do a really great job developing their project, and other people barely put any thought into it and just put some slides together with not very much thought at all. I prefer the previous approach. You don't have to write something brilliant that's going to go up on YouTube and stand the test of time and get millions of views. Although if you get viral, awesome. But you should put some thought into this, put some effort into it. Show that you care not only about your worldview and the philosophy we've studied, but about yourself as a scholar, as a student, and that you are going to present something meaningful, both for you and for an audience. Each of these options above require some technical skill that we don't really have time to explore, but each are entirely possible as options. If you decide to present in a genre that is not a traditional paper, then you will need to make sure the writing and thinking work is equivalent to the work you have put into a paper. That is, so if you're going to give a PowerPoint lecture like the ones I make for the class, you don't have to put all this writing into your PowerPoint, but you do need to make sure that the work that you show in that PowerPoint is equivalent as if you had written the paper, and so on, so forth with the other ones. Here are the requirements. A successful project will, 1, establish and explain your clear and detailed worldview. If written in paper form, the worldview should be at least 250 words. Number 2, it will show and explain connections between your worldview and 3 separate philosophers. Each philosopher must be a philosopher whose words we've read, and you must provide 2 quotes from our reading for each. Each section there will be at least 100 words. And number 3, you must develop a conclusion that synthesizes the 3 philosophers with your own worldview. Your conclusion must be 100 words. So let's do some quick math. That's 650 words total, at least. It's not a huge, overwhelming project, but it does require some thought and some effort on your part, which means that you need to, number 4, show some evidence of work carefully developed at a college level and produced with academic integrity. Given the personal nature of this work, generative AI, ChatGPT, etc., even using the Grammarly and getting suggestions from that, generative AI is not allowed as a tool for this assignment. I want to see your work, your ideas, your worldview with the philosophers we've used. We're going to hold a optional workshop next week. The project's going to be due to me in my office or on Moodle by 12/15, December 15th. That's 2 weeks from today at 11:59 p.m. You're going to need to make arrangements with me if you want to drop off a physical project like a poster board. That's the project. Let's go back to our main page, and I want to look at the worldview worksheet real quickly. This worldview worksheet is something that I put together for you as a way of thinking through your worldview, and it's asking you to think about the issues, actions, and things that you care about, make a list of them. It's asking you to think about the influence on you and your worldview, on your values, ethics, and beliefs. through family and friends, teachers and leaders, artists, influencers and speakers, and then to think about your experiences that you've had, both as yourself, your family, your professional and public self, and how these experiences have affected your worldview. Finally, it gives you a little bit of work articulating your worldview, and how you will do that. Now, this is not something you're going to turn in. This is just for your own work, so that you can help you develop your worldview and find some words for it. I think it's a valuable exercise, but it's on your own. That's it. That's your assignment. Um, this is again an important assignment. It's important for this class. It's part of your grade major grade for this class, but I think it's also a really useful assignment as a way of wrapping up this semester. Keep thinking, keep working on it. We've got a message board this week that allows you to post questions about this assignment. One thing about this week is we are also doing philosophies of justice. I didn't I've posted a lecture on it. We don't have a discussion board, but the philosophies of justice part of this is a really important part of wrapping up this class. So I hope you're reading those philosophies very carefully, being thoughtful about it, and doing good work in your journal on them. Use the discussion board if you have questions for me, or if you want to send me an email, always, you can send me an email, and I'm happy to talk about whatever issues you might be having. Remember, Philosophy 139, Introduction to Ethics. Tell your friends, tell your family, get your grandma in my class. However, I would just love to see that class run. I need some people to sign up for it in order for it to run. Have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions.